My name is Michael. I'm 27, and at that point in my life, I had absolutely nothing left. No job, no money, no backup plan, just a couple of wrinkled bills in my pocket and a stack of unpaid credit notices threatening to swallow me whole. So when I saw the ad, I didn't hesitate. I couldn't afford to. Room for rent. Very cheap. In a historical house. One rule: do not touch the wardrobe. It sounded like something you'd read on a joke website or creepypasta forum. But it was real. $100 a month. In the heart of the old district, where apartments usually cost 5 times that. The ad didn't even include a phone number. Just an address and a time. I showed up. The house was older than old. A withered Victorian relic tucked between a boarded-up bookstore and a flower shop that never seemed to open. The paint peeled like sunburned skin. The front gate groaned like it hadn't been touched in decades. And the air around it, it felt thick, like walking into someone else's memory. The landlady, Mrs. Eleanor, answered the door before I even knocked. She was small, thin, with clouded eyes and a face that looked like it had been carved out of wax and left in the sun too long. Her voice was almost a whisper when she spoke. "Second room on the left," she said. "And don't open the wardrobe." That was it. No contract. No questions. No small talk. Just that. I chuckled awkwardly, trying to ease the tension. Right. Got it. No wardrobe adventures. She didn't laugh. Didn't even smile. Just turned and disappeared down the hall without another word. The house creaked like it was alive. Every step on the staircase felt like walking on bones. The walls were yellowed, as if the wallpaper itself had been smoking for decades. Dust coated everything. Even the air felt old, like I was breathing in forgotten things. But the room was okay. Small but decent. A twin bed with a faded quilt, a wooden desk shoved against the wall, and a narrow window that looked out onto a crooked oak tree. Everything smelled like mothballs and something faintly sour, but I'd slept in worse places. And then there was the wardrobe. Tall, wooden, dark. Its surface was worn smooth by time and touch. It looked hand-carved, probably antique, and disturbingly coffin-shaped. The 2 brass handles were bound tightly together with an old rope, and on that rope was tied a small wooden cross, hand-whittled and smooth with age. I stood there for a long moment, staring at it. It felt like the only thing in the room that watched me back. That first night, everything was still. No creaks, no voices, no dreams. But the second night, things changed. The third night was when I first saw her. But before that, the house started to shift. Not physically, but something about it. The silence wasn't silent anymore. It felt watchful, like the walls were holding their breath, like something was waiting. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was just stress or bad sleep, or the pressure of being broke and cornered. But even in denial, I started noticing things. The smell of the room would change at night. During the day, it was just musty and old. But after midnight, it turned sour, like wet wood, old blood, and the faint, unmistakable scent of burned hair. Then there was the breathing. That second night, I woke up with a start. No sound, no dream, just a sharp, freezing chill that crawled up my spine like an ice cube between the ribs. And then I felt it. Hot breath, right by my ear. Slow, human. I spun around so fast, I nearly fell out of bed. But there was nothing. The room was empty. The window shut. The door locked. I sat there in the dark, heart hammering, trying not to panic. Maybe it had been a dream. Maybe I was losing it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. But the third night, I saw her. It was just past 3 a.m., that cursed hour when the world is quiet and too many bad things wake up. I opened my eyes to a strange stillness. My body knew before my mind caught up. Something's wrong. And then I saw her. She was standing in the far corner of the room, right beside the wardrobe. A woman in a long black dress, her back to me, her face turned toward the wardrobe door. Her hair was long, black, and stringy, hanging like wet ropes, hiding her face. She didn't move, didn't sway, didn't breathe, just stood. I couldn't move. My body locked in place like I was paralyzed, even though I was wide awake. I tried to call out. Nothing came. I just stared. Then I blinked. She was gone. No sound. No flicker. Just gone. The wardrobe, however, seemed closer. The next morning, I cornered Mrs. Eleanor in the kitchen. She was making tea, humming to herself like nothing was wrong, like she lived in a completely different reality. I asked her as calmly as I could, "Is there someone else living here?" She paused, didn't look at me, stirred her tea, then finally said in that quiet, cracking voice, "Just you. I've been alone since the day she disappeared." My stomach twisted. Who disappeared? Mrs. Eleanor lifted the teacup to her lips, but her hand shook. My daughter, Abigail. She was troubled. Wouldn't sleep in a bed. Only the wardrobe. Said she felt safe there. She didn't like being disturbed. The air in the kitchen dropped 5 degrees. I could feel it. What happened to her? I asked. Mrs. Eleanor set the cup down gently. One day, she was just gone. Left the door open. Rope was cut. Cross was missing. She looked up at me then, finally. Her eyes were wet. That wardrobe hasn't opened since. But she was wrong. Because I heard it. And I saw the rope move last night. And someone was standing right beside it. I tried to leave the house that morning. Packed my duffel bag, took the last crumpled $5 bill from my wallet, and stood at the front door with my hand on the knob. But I didn't turn it. Where would I go? I had no job, no friends left in town, no family that still picked up the phone. Every door had closed behind me already, except this one. So I stayed. That night, I told myself I would lock the wardrobe tighter, reinforce the rope, maybe even move the bed farther away from it, as if distance would protect me from whatever was wrong in that room. I didn't realize the truth yet. It wasn't the wardrobe that needed locking. It was the house, and I was already inside. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up gasping, as if someone had been sitting on my chest. The air was dense, damp. My skin felt slick. The wardrobe stood exactly where I left it, still bound, the cross dangling motionless from the rope. But something had changed. There was a smell in the room now, like old meat left in the sun, sweet and rotten. And then the scratching began. It started soft, barely audible, a whisper of wood against nail. SCRRRCH, SCRRRCH, SCRRRCH. I sat up slowly, the sheets bunched in my fists. The sound was coming from inside the wardrobe. 3 slow, deliberate scratches, like long fingernails dragged across the inside of the door. Then silence. I waited. My breath held. Then again, SCRRCH. Louder this time, right at the wood. Something was in there, and it wanted me to know. I stood, my legs unsteady, and walked slowly to the wardrobe. Every instinct screamed not to, but curiosity and fear had long since woven themselves together. The rope on the handles had slipped slightly loose, and on the dusty wooden surface of the door, 3 fresh gouges had been carved, deep and raw. I backed away, heart pounding, nearly tripping over the chair. Then I saw it. The wall above my bed. There was something written on it. Something wet, like finger trails on a fogged mirror, but the window was shut. There was no condensation. And yet, the message was there, scrawled above my pillow, in uneven, jagged letters. I don't like when you sleep in my bed. I left the room without thinking. Ran down the stairs, barefoot, heart in my throat. Mrs. Eleanor was sitting at the kitchen table. No lights on. Just her, in the dark, staring at the hallway like she'd been waiting. 2 teacups sat in front of her. She didn't flinch when I entered, just lifted her head slowly and said, "She's waking up. She wakes when she's lonely." I didn't sleep that night. Didn't sleep the next night either. But I didn't leave, because I knew the moment I did, she might follow. By the 6th night, I stopped pretending this was just in my head. Something lived in that wardrobe, something that used to be a person or wore the memory of one like skin, and it had started to notice me. I barely ate, didn't go outside. My world had shrunk to that room, that bed, that suffocating space between the wardrobe and whatever still counted as my sanity. That night, I took extra measures. Tied the wardrobe with thicker rope, pushed a chair against the doors, and stacked my heaviest books on top. I even dragged the desk halfway across the room to block it off completely. Then I tried to sleep. Not that I could. Sometime after midnight, I heard the chair fall. Not tip. Fall. As if something had kicked it from the inside. Then came the creaking. Not the floorboards. Not the wind. The wardrobe. It groaned like old bone. The rope was snapping, Not all at once, but thread by thread, like it was being chewed through. I sat upright in bed, too scared to move, as the doors slowly unlatched with a click. And for the first time, I saw inside. Just a glimpse, just a breath. But it was enough. She was curled in the fetal position, wedged inside the wardrobe like a corpse prepared for burial. Her skin was gray, almost translucent. Her dress black, threadbare, soaked at the bottom like she'd walked through a flood. Her hands were above her head, fingers clasped together, as if in prayer. But her fingers were broken. All of them, bent at impossible angles, bones pushing beneath skin like wire under wet cloth. Her head slowly lifted. Her hair fell away from her face just enough to reveal no eyes. Only sockets, dark and damp and endless. Her mouth opened, and she whispered. Not loudly, not even angrily, but with certainty. I'll come out when you fall asleep again. Then the wardrobe door shut by itself. I didn't sleep. I sat against the wall, knees to my chest, trying not to blink too long. Around 4:30 a.m., I went to the kitchen. Mrs. Eleanor was there, once again, waiting for me. 2 cups of tea. No lights. She slid one toward me and said softly. She used to pray like that, you know, before she changed. Before the voice in the wardrobe started answering her back. I didn't touch the tea. I asked her, why me? Why now? Mrs. Eleanor smiled faintly, almost sadly. Because you needed a room, and she needed someone to come back home. Then she added, you took her bed, Michael. That makes you part of the house now. I decided to leave. Not tomorrow. Not after breakfast. Now. My body was shaking, running on fear and caffeine and whatever scraps of will I'd left, but I knew one thing. If I spent another night here, I wouldn't be leaving alone. Or at all. I shoved my things into the duffel bag. Didn't fold. Didn't care. I didn't even put on socks. Just jammed my feet into my shoes and bolted out of the room. Down the stairs. Through the hallway. Toward the front door. It didn't open. I twisted the handle, pulled with both hands. The lock turned, the knob clicked, but the door wouldn't move. It was like it had fused with the frame. I checked the deadbolt, slid it open and closed. Yanked again. Nothing. Then I tried the windows. The one in the hallway wouldn't budge. I tried the one in the dining room. Painted shut. The kitchen nailed. I wasn't locked in the room. I was locked in the house. I turned and saw Mrs. Eleanor watching me from the shadows near the staircase. She wasn't surprised. She didn't look angry. She just looked tired. She won't let you go, she said. Not now. Not after you saw her. I stared at her, breathless. What the hell do you mean? She walked slowly toward me, her slippers making soft thuds against the warped wooden floor. She waited so long. Years. Decades. The others didn't stay. But you, she tilted her head. You slept in her bed. You opened the door, even if just with your eyes. You're hers now. I backed away, my heart pounding like it was trying to dig its way out. I didn't do anything, I said. I didn't ask for this. I didn't. Intent doesn't matter, she interrupted. She doesn't want to be alone. Not anymore. That night, I moved down to the living room. Slept on the couch with the hallway light on and a kitchen knife under the pillow. I left the door to the stairs open so I could hear something moved. And I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Bare. Descending the stairs one by one. Thump. 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 Then silence. I squeezed my eyes shut and held the knife tighter. But the sound didn't return. Instead, I heard something else. The wardrobe doors opening upstairs. Then the floorboards creaking. Then humming. Soft. A tune I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, slow and broken, like she was remembering how. She hummed until the sun began to rise. By morning, the front door was wide open. I ran to it, stared out into the street. Freedom, light, noise. But I didn't walk out, because on the front step lay the wooden cross from the wardrobe rope, and tied around it was a strand of black, wet hair. I stood in the doorway for what felt like an hour. The wind touched my face. Sunlight warmed my skin. The real world was out there, still moving, still alive. But I couldn't step through. That hair, that tiny cross, it was a message, or maybe a threat. Whatever force kept me in the house, it wasn't just emotional. It wasn't fear or guilt or poverty. It was her. She wanted me to stay, and she was strong enough to bend the world to make it happen. I finally closed the door. Not because I wanted to, because something told me if I didn't do it on my own, she would. And next time, it wouldn't open again. I started noticing the layout changing. The hallway upstairs felt longer. The window in my room no longer showed the crooked oak tree. The radiator under it gone. One morning, I opened the bedroom door and found that the stairs were missing. Just a blank wall. I blinked, stepped back, opened it again, and they were there. Another time, I swear the ceiling in the bathroom was breathing, expanding, contracting, like lungs under wet plaster. I marked the walls with chalk, small crosses and arrows to map my steps, to test if the doors were moving, if the angles stayed the same. They didn't. The house was alive, or worse, becoming her. That night, I heard whispers from inside the wardrobe. Not in English, not even in full sentences, just fragments. My room. Stay, stay, stay. He took it. He took me. I pushed the desk fully in front of the wardrobe and stacked everything I could lift on top of it. Books, the chair, my backpack, even a broken lamp. Then I curled up in bed and tried not to blink too long. But the walls had other plans. At 3:07 a.m., the corner of the room, the one she used to stand in, began to stretch. Not physically, not visibly, but the shadows deepened, grew longer. The light from the hallway bulb didn't reach it anymore. And I saw her again. But this time, she wasn't facing the wardrobe. She was facing me, hands still folded, head still bowed, but her body shaking with rage or grief or both. She took one slow step forward, then another. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then the wardrobe behind her slammed shut. The noise exploded like a gunshot. The cross that had been left on the front step now hung back on the doors, somehow nailed into the wood. And Abigail vanished. I collapsed to the floor, too numb to cry, too tired to scream. It felt like she was showing me something. A cycle, a punishment, a memory that replayed itself unless someone else stepped in, unless someone took her place. Mrs. Eleanor found me in the morning, curled up beside the wardrobe. She didn't ask what happened. She just placed a blanket over my shoulders and said, "The house bends around her grief, Michael. The longer you stay, the less of the world you'll remember." And then she whispered, "Soon, even the sky will forget your name." I started hearing things inside the walls, not just creaks or rats or the old house groaning in its sleep. These were deeper sounds. What are sounds? Breathing. The kind of breathing that doesn't belong to anything living, or at least not anything that should be. Slow, guttural, like something was behind the plaster, exhaling through rot. At first, it came at night, then in the afternoon, then even in silence. Even now, if I close my eyes and stay still long enough, I can hear it again. Inhale, exhale, scrape. I tried to ask Mrs. Eleanor what exactly had happened to Abigail. Not the story she'd told me before, not just she disappeared. I wanted the truth. She was sitting in the garden when I approached, in a dead chair beside dead flowers. She didn't look up. I asked, was she normal? Before it all started, Eleanor plucked a dry leaf off a stem and let it fall. She was never normal, she said. Not after her father died. She stopped going outside, slept in the wardrobe, whispered to the wood like it whispered back. And one night it did. She paused, then said, "I heard the doors open. Thought she'd finally come to bed. But when I went to look, the wardrobe was empty. Just air, and a heartbeat." I frowned. "You mean you heard one?" She turned to me slowly. "No, Michael. I mean, I had one." That night, the wardrobe didn't wait until I was in bed. It began trembling before sunset. The books on top shifted. One fell, then another. Then the rope on the handles began to tighten and loosen like it was breathing. The entire structure pulsed, like a vein. I pressed my back against the opposite wall and stared. It was no longer a piece of furniture. It was a lung, a throat, a cradle for something trying to be born. And then the wood exhaled, a thick, wet sound. And from between the cracks, something black seeped out. Not smoke, not shadow, something in between. It poured slowly, staining the floor like oil, but curling upward against gravity. I ran, sprinted down the stairs, nearly tripped over myself. But when I reached the front door, it wasn't there. There was only wall. Where the door had always been, where I'd stood in the sunlight just yesterday Now, just wallpaper. No hinges, no knob, no seams. The house had taken it back. I heard footsteps above me. Soft, deliberate, not Mrs. Eleanor's. A door creaked open. Then I heard a voice. Michael, you're home. I don't remember going back upstairs. Maybe I didn't. Maybe the house turned the stairs inward, looped me back through its veins, and placed me there, outside the room, outside the wardrobe, outside her. But somehow I was standing in the doorway again. The lights were off. The hallway behind me was gone. And inside the room, I heard her, Abigail. She was speaking, not humming, not whispering, speaking, clearly, calmly, directly. You keep trying to leave, she said. I couldn't see her yet, just the open wardrobe, the doors wide like a pair of jaws, the rope split and dangling like shed skin. You think it's about the bed, or the door, or the room, but it's about you. Her voice didn't echo. It absorbed sound, sucked it from the room. The air around me thinned with every word she spoke. You were chosen, Michael. You were invited. You answered. The bed behind her creaked, as if someone sat on it. But I couldn't see who or what. Then I saw fingers wrap around the edge of the wardrobe door. Long, thin, bone pale, bent, like someone had folded them wrong a long time ago, and they never healed. She stepped out almost. Not all at once. Just a sliver of her. Half a face, twisted with age that wasn't physical. One eye socket, one cheek. Her lips cracked open like dried leaves. You slept where I died, she said softly. Now I live where you dream. The room began to twist. The wallpaper peeled on its own. Underneath, hundreds of carved symbols, crosses, eyes, teeth. The floor swelled and cracked. Boards curled upward like fingers trying to hold me in place. And then, the wardrobe groaned again. But this time, something else answered. A voice. A second one. From inside. Deeper. Harsher. Male. Trade. 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 I backed away, but my legs didn't move. Abigail took another step forward, now visible from the shoulders up. Her head tilted, her mouth too wide for her face. Give me your place, she said, and I'll give you silence. Behind me, the doorway was gone again. The walls sealed shut. The windows vanished. Only the wardrobe remained. And Abigail. I closed my eyes, just for a second. When I opened them, she was sitting in my bed, smiling, waiting, and the wardrobe doors were closed again. I knew I wouldn't survive another night. Not as myself. Each hour blurred into the next. I stopped eating, stopped speaking. My own reflection looked thinner, paler, like I was being slowly replaced. The wardrobe didn't rattle anymore. It didn't need to. Abigail had moved out of it. She was everywhere now. I'd see her from the corner of my eye, behind the bathroom curtain, standing in the garden, staring through the second-story window while I was still inside. And I stopped asking Mrs. Eleanor for answers. She'd become more like the furniture than a person, still present, still functioning, but hollowed out. She likes you, was the last thing she said to me. She's never liked anyone. That night, the 9th, I didn't prepare. No ropes, no chairs, no stacks of books, no locked doors. I sat on the bed and stared at the wardrobe. It stared back. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the room grew ice cold. My breath fogged the air, but not evenly, only in front of the wardrobe. And then the doors opened. Nothing violent. No shaking. Just a soft creak like a yawn. Inside, it was empty, except for something at the back. A small, folded blanket. A pillow. A hollow carved into the wood in the shape of a body. My shape. And Abigail's voice came again. Not from the wardrobe, this time from inside my head. Rest now. Just lie down. Just trade. I stepped forward. Not because I agreed. Because there was nothing else left. I stood at the edge of the open doors and looked in. The space inside looked deeper than it should. Like it went down, or inward, or under the house, into a second dimension made of breath and bone. And I saw something move inside. Not Abigail. Not entirely. Something wearing her face. Its mouth opened, and I felt it again, that warm breath against my ear. The same that woke me the second night. It whispered, "You've already laid down. You just haven't closed your eyes yet." That was the moment I knew. It was never about sleeping in her bed. It was about becoming what she left behind. Replacing her. Filling a hollow. The house was the trap. The wardrobe was the mouth. And I had climbed willingly into its throat. I stepped back from the wardrobe. One step, just one, but something had already changed. The air behind me was heavier. The light darker. The bed gone. I turned around. The room was reversed. Mirror flipped. The window no longer showed the outside. It showed another version of the room, just slightly off. No furniture. No wallpaper. Just walls that breathe. I wasn't in the house anymore. Not really. I was in her. I ran. Out of the room. Into the hallway. But the hallway was wrong, too. Longer now, with endless doors, all closed, all humming. Some of them wept. Others scratched. Every one of them had a name carved into it. Dozens. Hundreds. All of them first names. Some scratched out. Some freshly added. And at the end of the hall, a door with mine. Michael. Still wet. I slammed it open and found the wardrobe on the other side. Just sitting in an empty black room. No ceiling. No floor. Just blackness stretching in every direction. And the wardrobe, open, waiting. And then, from behind me, I heard her. Calm. Quiet. You can't run, Michael. You're where I go now. I moved in. I turned, and there she was. Abigail. But not the corpse. Not the ghost. Not the horror. Just a girl. Maybe 17. Tired eyes. Hands clasped like in prayer. You understand now, she said. You were never a guest. You were the next room. I screamed. Not out of fear. Out of rage. I ran through her. My body passed through smoke, through ice, through a memory that didn't belong to me. And I leapt into the wardrobe. It was the only way out. Or the only way through. I don't remember the fall. I don't remember landing. Just waking up in another bed, in another city, weeks later. Doctors said they found me unconscious in a bus station 3 states away. I had no ID, no wallet, just a wooden cross in my pocket and a thin strand of black hair wrapped around it. Now I try to live. I rent better places, bright ones, high up, with no wardrobes. But it doesn't help. Every night, when I try to sleep, I feel breath on my ear. And in every new apartment, there's always a corner where the shadows gather. And sometimes, just before dawn, I hear a whisper from inside the walls. You're my room now. Don't let anyone else in.